It was only 7 o'clock, but the sky was already dark, hung with heavy gray clouds. There weren't any windows in the dimly lit bar, but he was able to glimpse the sky through the glass square on the worn wooden door. He had a clear view, given that the space was just one long rectangle, split in two by the bar. At 7 on a Tuesday, looking outside was all there was to do anyways. So he idly leaned up against the bar and peered out into the world, watching as the clouds' movement marked the passage of time. Of course, there was a clock as well, but staring at the clock too long will make you crazy. The clouds were more interesting anyways. They moved quickly this evening, as though a storm was coming on, yet there was no rain, hardly any wind. The sky was simply feeling restless today. It was about 8 when she walked into the bar. She took a seat at a stool in the center and asked for a margarita. He thought she was pretty. She had dark green eyes and long blonde hair worn in a ponytail. The gloom of the bar and the overcast sky seemed out of place, cast around someone as bright as her. He wanted to talk to her. Of course he did. In this dull place, where hours drag on for eternity, the spark of life was captivating. In such a void as this, it was all he could focus on. But a shadow can't exist too close to a light. Words and courage eluded him as he stood polishing a cup in the safety of the bar. He began to daydream. He wondered what she was doing in a place like this. The bar usually only saw the comings and goings of middle-aged men escaping their lives at home. Maybe she was from out of town and just happened to pass by. That would explain why she'd come here rather than a place with a bit of style. I'm certain that glass can't get any cleaner. She broke the silence, and he jumped a little, as he was pulled from his thoughts. Ah, well, it wasn't actually dirty in the first place. This just keeps me from standing here awkwardly when we have customers. It's a bit of a bartender's trick. He set down the glass and leaned on the bar. How's the drink? She glanced at her untouched margarita and laughed. I don't like alcohol very much, if I'm being honest. I just needed to get out of the house for a couple of hours. He wondered why, but it seemed intrusive to ask. He searched for a new topic to fill the air, one that would be more comfortable. After a few minutes of consideration, he spoke. Have you seen the new Superman movie? It just came out yesterday, and I've been meaning to go see it. She leaned forward, and he thought her eyes were somehow even brighter. I did. I'd been looking forward to it for months, actually. Her excitement was evident in every word, and he noticed he was grinning alongside her. Oh wow, it's so cool to meet another fan. Most people think Superman is kind of boring. As he said it, he could tell she had this conversation before. She put both hands on the table and nearly knocked over her glass. He isn't, though. I love that he represents everything good about us. I always wanted to be like him when I was a kid. The more they talked, the further he was drawn in by the young woman. She exerted an aura of radiance in the dull bar, so powerful that he felt more alive just being near her. He listened intently to her stories. He learned about the cape she used to wear to preschool, her top 10 favorite sushi places in the state, and her dreams of becoming a truth-seeking journalist. They laughed about her ex-boyfriends and contemplated the certainty of death. He was devastated when she finally looked down at her watch and stood to leave. He wished he could say something to make her stay. He was too familiar with the loneliness that was waiting for him once she left. At the very least, the bartender wished he had the courage to ask for her number. If she had to leave, he wanted it to be temporary. Somehow, in just a night, he'd come to feel as though she belonged in his life. This was an entirely new feeling to him. People came and went from the bar all the time, derelict as it was. But this was the first time he'd been captivated like this. The first time he'd been so head over heels that his chest felt like it was imploding, and he smiled without meaning to. The bartender was, however, a coward, like most of us. He could do nothing but watch, wordlessly, as the woman disappeared through the door and back out of his life.